Did you know there are 4.5 million students in the world currently studying abroad? Our project management team, Team Travel, Paul, Bianca, Megan, Lucas, and myself, Bree, are going to create a new project study abroad in London. To begin, I'll discuss our project scope. The purpose of this project is to create an opportunity for UCF students to learn more about international business practices throughout this study abroad trip. This will take place in London for about 2 months. We will be executing an ongoing study abroad program for 25 students every semester, and this will give students an opportunity to learn about international business practices. I will now be passing on to Paul.
Thank you, Bree. So some of the success criteria that we implemented were to complete the project within the budget of $247,000. That schedules will be completed and organized before the trip. That 25 students are safely transported to and from London, and the marketing for the continuing study abroad program continues on after we set out the first trip. And some of the exclusions that we have for the students are that food and drinks will not be included outside of the student meals. Groceries that they purchase at local markets will not be included as well. Transportation that is not in the designated time frame for students will not be included. The outbound and return airfare tickets will be on the students, and vaccination costs, passport costs, and personal excursions, souvenirs and stuff like that for the students are not included as well. So for the assumptions, we assume that UCF will approve the study abroad trip in London. It is also assumed that the London School of Business and Finance will agree to our program to start this trip. It is also assumed that our sponsors will be able to fund our trip to cover the costs for the excursions and the hotels and stuff. It is also assumed that our flights will be paid by our students, and the students will have their vaccination be up to date. So for our project priority, we do have costs. Well, we do have time as our first priority. We need to constrain time so that we can finish this project on time before the trip starts. We need to enhance the costs to make it affordable for UCF business students, and accept the scope to cover a variety of excursions and classes within reason for the students. So with that being said, I'm gonna pass it on to Bianca.
Thank you, Paul. To successfully plan the study abroad trip with the London School of Business and Finance, we needed to organize and divide the work needed to be done. Team Travel set up a work breakdown structure to divide important tasks in order to complete the planning of the trip efficiently. We have 5 activities set up starting from research, marketing and advertising, scheduling, execution plan, and finally, the knowledge transfer. Each activity has individual work packages set up to further identify the importance of each task to the project. On the next slide, we have the network diagram. The network diagram shows that the project completion will take 109 days. It also shows the early start and finish, the late start and finish of each of the activities on the project workflow. The project activities had to be completed in this specific order for the project to be completed by the deadline. This tool has helped our team determine the task durations, its dependencies, its sequences, and the critical path. The critical path is shown in yellow. These activities were shown to have no slack time available. The project cannot accept any delays within these activities. After completing the network diagram, we then created the project schedule. Now I'm going to hand it off to Megan.
Thank you, Bianca. We created a Gantt chart to help break down our schedule. This chart helps us stay on schedule and see what activities need to be completed before we can continue work. The activities are sorted by begin and end date, and also by how long the activity will take us to complete. There is a lot of preparation that goes into a trip, so our team decided to create a descriptive schedule to help better manage the organization of the trip. Our preparation starts in June 2022, where we determine the need and start research of London. In the middle of July, we start creating our advertisement and scheduling student housing, courses, and food plans. Towards the beginning of August, we create our itineraries and conduct our informational meeting. On the actual trip that begins January 9th, we create a plan to gather information from locals, manage organization of the trip. We leave London on March 31st, and as you can see on the weekends, our team has created activities for the students to go on. We have also included how much each activity cost. We have decided to include these prices into our total cost of the trip, and we'll leave the students to decide if they would like to go or not. Post-trip, we will acquire the notes from the trip and create our report. We will create a transfer plan and present to the Study Abroad office on April 18th. Now I'll hand it over to Lucas.
Thank you, Megan. So as you can see here, our project resource chart is illustrating how we're going to be allocating our resources. As you can see, we have our scheduled activities and the dates we expect them to be completed. For example, you can see here in 2.1 design advertisements, we expect to start on 6/23 and then end on 6/24. Moving on. Here's a breakdown of our budget and the scheduled spending we anticipate. Moving on. Here's the time phase budget once again, but we've made it into a line graph for easy comprehension. Now I'll be passing it back to Megan.
So our additional information, the students will spend a total of 12 weeks in London. They will attend the London School of Business and Finance. And like I said, on the weekends, students will take trips to many different museums and landmarks in London.
Today, you were able to learn a little bit more about our study abroad program, our project scope, the WBS, network diagram, the project schedule, and additional information. Thank you for your time. That concludes our presentation. If there are any more points that need further clarification, I'll address those now. If not, thank you for your time.